This is a disassembly of a garden lantern in the shape of a rock. As you can see, it has a solar panel at the top, it has an LED in the center, it's got plastic housing to make it the rock form. Underneath you will see the on and off button. It has 4 screws, that hold the battery pack in place. Alright, let's dismantle. So first you want to make sure that if any parts fly off, you want to wear your safety goggles to make sure everything is safe. I am also wearing an apron to make sure any debris doesn't get on me. Alright. You want to make sure that you have the tools on hand. So I have pliers, needle nose pliers, different screwdrivers, and a hand pry bar just in case. If you feel the material is going to be dirty, you can wear gloves for another safety measure. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to be removing these screws. Now they're pretty rusted, and you want to make sure that you get the right size. Because of the rust, I'm going to have to get a different screwdriver. Alright. It might take some force, but as you can see, this screw was not affected and it's working just fine. Alright, the other 3 are very rusted, and that is because these screws are made out of iron, coated in tin. The tin has worn off, exposing the iron, and that's why they rust. I've quickly gotten different screwdrivers that I hope will have a better grip. You always want to make sure that when you're disassembling, you put things off to the side and you are careful not to lose any of the parts. You also need to understand there are methods of assembly. How is it assembled? This is assembled with 4 screws. It is that simple. So, how is the battery pack assembled onto the device with 4 screws? And I'm just putting them to the side. You also want to make sure you understand the materials you are working with. So for example, this is probably a cheap plastic. Alright, and I'm going to be using a flathead screwdriver just to pry this open. There we go. Okay. You can see that there is a rubber button, a different material, and that would be a different component. There is a rubber mat. Now, why would there be a rubber mat? This is to make sure no liquids get in, and if you look inside, there is no rust. Alright, but be careful. Old batteries might have battery acid leakage, and make sure that you dispose of batteries properly. So we have a plastic black mat casing, a rubber built-in button, and you might say, how is that made? That was probably made in a mold. So mold, there we go. We have 4 screws, and if you take them out and place them in order, it will help you understand when you need to put it back together. So 4 screws, then we had the cover plate, then we had the rubber mat. As you can see, there is a battery. I'll take out the battery. You can see that there is a switch, an on-off switch built in. You could see that there is a PCB circuit board that controls and accesses the LED and the energy and activates it when needed. The way this works is it is always taking on energy, and then when the light is dimmed, then the LED will turn on. Okay. And by the way, this is acrylic plastic. As you can see, acrylic is very brittle, and that's why there's a crack in it. The solar panel will probably have real glass, so you do have to be careful when dealing with glass because you do not want it to break. So lots of safety involved. Alright, so we are going to take this unit out, and as you can see, there's glue. So how was this assembled? It was glued in. Okay. Now, we could take a look on the inside. There's lots of wires. All right. All right. And I do not want to pull the wires out just yet. Okay. Now, I am looking for any other modes of disassembly. So, for example, there's a hole here. There might be a screw, but I cannot see that. And you can see all that glue inside. All right, so gluing is a form of assembly. So look, I'm going to take the glue out, put it off to the side. Take this glue, put it off to the side. All right. All right. And I might have to do a little bit of research of how this was put in. Because if it is glued all together, then I'm going to have to pry using a pry screwdriver. I'm going to have to pry this open. So I'll come back to you. All right, so after researching how this was assembled, they glued the acrylic, which has yellowed because of UV rays. All right, they glued it. Now, you might say, well, that makes it hard for disassembly. It does, and as you can see, it is brittle and it's shattered. I'm very happy I wore my safety goggles because as you can see, bits and pieces were flying off, and that's why safety does matter. So as you can see, there was a ridge, they applied the glue, and they glued it at the end. All right, I did have to use force to pry it out, but now I can understand how they put it all together, and I'll go through that in a moment. All right, this secondary piece, which looks like metal, is actually made out of a plastic that has been coated with a reflective finish. All right, now think about why would there be a reflective finish? All right, to increase the luminosity of these 3 LEDs. And if you look, there are 3 LEDs inside. You might say, why is it not metal? Plastic is cheaper. If they can make a product cheaper, they will. So I'm going to carefully remove this. And once again, it is glued as well. So I'm going to have to pry it using physical force. All right, so as you can see, I was able to get underneath. Unfortunately, it did break that one little part, but it was allowed me to remove, and you could actually see the layer of glue that was holding this in place. Okay, so once again, just putting that off to the side. And for the engineers, this shape does matter. All right, this is a parabola, which you may have heard about in math. This allows the light to be optimized and focused. So even this shape has been engineered. All right. Okay, so I'm going to feed the components through. But as you can see, we have the LED component, we have the battery source and switch component, but we have one more component, and that is the solar panel. Now, the solar panel is also glued in, but this one is going to be glass, so I have to be very careful. All right, and as you can see on the inside, they threaded the wires through a hole. So I will have to cut these wires, and I will be using wire cutters. If you don't have wire cutters, you could use pliers, and you'll notice that there's cutters inside. Or you could be using a needle nose pliers, and you can notice that there are cutters inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. You can make a note saying they threaded the wires through a hole in the plastic design. Okay, so this is one piece that has been molded, and you can see where they planned where the unit's going to go. They planned where the light is going to go, and then they also planned where the solar panel is going to go. So I'm going to remove this, and I'll get back to you. All right, so what I did was I got in the groove, and I removed that, As you can see, the solar panel, this is actual glass. And I'm glad I was very careful that I did not break it, okay? You can notice that there is a positive and a negative to the wires, all right, to complete the circuit. And they've also coated it with a special material to make sure that this connection doesn't come loose, okay? As to what it is, it feels like a tar substance, so probably an adhesive much like super glue, but probably a lot cheaper, all right? And once again, you gotta be careful of these sharp edges on the glass, okay? You will have to write up a safety statement before you do your disassembly and then compare it to the after when you are done. You may have come across other safety elements. All right, as you can see, it has built into the design where all the circuit wires go, where the solar panel goes, and now that is one piece that was molded in a mold, all right, casted in plastic. Now the plastic is probably more durable considering this was meant to be outside. So you always have to understand what are the materials used when making your lantern. All right, you are going to have to prototype, and if you understand and plan where your items are going to go, your prototype will be more successful. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up and show you how it's going to be presented. All right, so as you can see, I've cleaned up the mess and I have presented it in a way ready for a photo that you guys will be able to use. So let's just break it down. We have a couple of screws holding a plate. The plate had a rubber mat to make it water resistant inside the circuit. We have a battery source. We had adhesive glue to hold that in place. We have the PCB circuit board that controls the LED and holds the battery source. All right. We have the wires going to two other components. So just to let you know, there are 3 components in total. All right. We had the solar panel connected to the switch and the battery pack, which was also connected to the LED to turn on. All right. So once again, the wires, LEDs to light up the lamp. And I kept this because I wanted to show that I understand that the adhesive, all right, kept this in place. Then there was more glue involved. This was the cover to protect the LEDs. And by the way, you can see the circuits right there. There's a PCB board. The solar panel, which actually contains glass and a photovoltaic receptor. By the way, photovoltaic, all right, is a material that turns light into energy. Photon, voltaic, volt. Do you see the connection? And finally, it was all housed in a plastic housing that was in the shape of a rock. Okay? And just to let you know, this was probably not a two-part mold. Two-part molds when there's only 2 pieces. They probably had multiple molds, such as 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, molds, and it was probably plastic mold injected into that 4-part mold. Okay, these are mass produced, they are cheap, the materials are not top quality, and the life expectancy of this product probably only lasted 2 to 3 years maximum. All right, so that is the disassembly of a LED solar powered lantern. And that is how it's presented. It is now up to you to take the photos and now write about this process. Thank you so much. I wish you the best.